Hey Tony, it's Saturday, and first off, to answer your question of the week, I mean, like, it's just like you just hike. Like, if you can't really get a lot of elevation, you can do stairs, lots and lots of stairs. Find a tallish hill and go up and down it 50 times. Like, I certainly have an advantage of being in mountains here, but even my mountains are definitely not Grand Canyon mountains. So when I was in training for the canyon, when I was at the gym, I'd use the stair machine. When I would go hiking, I'd just go up and down the same mountain a few times just to try and like get my body ready for it. And just pack on weight. Weight's one of the big issues that you have. So like the weighted vests that mom, dad, and I have are usually pretty good. So I'm making this video on Saturday because it's been a crazy couple days. And you mentioned the weather, and I don't know if you can see that out our window, but that is snow which I'm not particularly thrilled by, but is what it is. I can't control the weather, no matter how much I wish I could. So this week has been a lot of house hunting. A lot of house hunting. So we put an offer in last week on a house we really liked, and unfortunately it didn't come through. Which made Tuesday and Wednesday, like Monday and Tuesday we were anxious because we had done that, and then when we found it on Wednesday, it was disheartening to say the least. But the past couple days, we've just looked at a whole bunch of houses, and we have like 6, I think, on schedule for today. Just kind of looking around. We saw one yesterday that we really liked a lot. We put an offer in on, so we're just gonna have to wait to see on that one. But we found another one that we liked as well. Is like, hey, if our first and second choices don't work out, then maybe this one would. So it's a process. It's a long, arduous process, but I personally find it enjoyable. It's kind of cool to see all these different houses and kind of like come up with ideas on how you're gonna make it look, because I think that's fun. I just think that's fun to do. Of like, okay, so we have this house here that it has the yard it's okay. So how am I gonna landscape this to make it look better? Because like a certain part of a house is not just a place to live, but it's also an investment, and you want to make changes to your investment to make it worth more in the future. Now, the real estate market is always in flux, just like all other markets are. But it's still like you look into it like, okay, what can I do while I'm here to make it good for me? And how can I add value to this hundreds of thousands of dollar asset that I purchased? And so it's been really fun to do that. We saw a really nice house. The one we put the offer in on yesterday was really nice. Like, I don't necessarily like the term forever homes because nothing is forever. Like, I'm sure when mom and dad bought their house, it wasn't thought to be the forever home. It was thought to be we'll be here for however long we want to be. I feel like putting that title adds a lot more pressure to it of like, oh, this has to be perfect because I want to be here forever. And I also don't necessarily like the superlatives like that, but I feel it also just comes from my work. But yeah, it's been a pretty busy week with the houses we've been looking for, and also my court schedule was a little rough this week. Thursday in particular was pretty rough. Because I had a case I worked pretty hard on to get a really good plea deal for my client, and unfortunately my client deals with serious substance abuse issues, and the judge was not going to take his plea because he seemed to be under the influence that day, and that was tough. Because now that's been continued to Monday, so I have to drive all the way back down to that courthouse on Monday, and it's about an hour and a half away, so that's not something I necessarily like doing if I can avoid it. And then yesterday I just spent a lot of time on jail visits. One big part of my work is jail visits, and they're always challenging, and they're also always exhausting because there's usually a lot you have to go through to get in there in the first place. When you're in there, you can't bring X number of documents. You have to have like this and that and this and that, and you can't give many things because they're an incarcerated population, and they are very limited in what they're allowed to have. By nature of being incarcerated, their liberties are small, are very low, And it's always stressful, and you're not allowed to have a watch or a phone in there, so you never know how much time you've been in there. Like I think I got to the jail yesterday at 9 a.m. I had three visits, and I didn't get out until like 1:45. But the problem is like I didn't know what time it was the entire time in there. No, when I have jail visits, I usually don't schedule much for that afternoon because you never know how long you're going to be in. You never know how long the visit's going to go. But it was successful enough. Talked to a client for the first time, which was good. It was a case I got assigned to fairly recently. It's a pretty rough case, but I think I have some pretty good arguments for my trial on that one in November. But it was just kind of a getting some things together. I have a bunch of calls I need to make on Monday. Although Monday might be a little tight because I had that extra court hearing, but Tuesday I know I'm pretty free. So I'm gonna be making a lot of calls next week involving some of these cases because the work never stops. Like especially, I mean, I do public interest and I do like like criminal defense and habeas work, and there's certainly no shortage of clients in those, and you have to do a lot because I mean it's important. Not only is it important for the job you do, it's important for their rights, and that's something I always put myself to. Like I get asked by friends and family like, how do you defend murders, or how do you go against a child molest? How do you work with child molesters? And my opinion is always the same. It's whether they did it or didn't do it isn't my business. Whether they're guilty or innocent is also not my business. What is my business and what I'm there for is to make sure their rights aren't violated. Because if your rights are violated, then the entire system is poisoned from the start. And we already have a lot of issues with our justice system, and it's important to me to make sure that I'm not part of it. I want my clients to get every rights that they're entitled to. And that's always the argument I go with, which I think in a lot of ways is a very lawful, neutral argument. But it's one I hold firm in my heart because everyone deserves an attorney and everyone deserves the chance. So Tony, my question for you, which is going to be totally unrelated, so have you and do you and Tori look around at any houses in your area? Like even before Taylor and I were really looking, when it was just Taylor and I, we would still drive around, just looking around, seeing what was there. It's fun to do. So that's my question for you, Tony: is do you and Tori ever look at houses just because? Tony, I'll see you on Wednesday probably, but I'll see you at some point next week. Later.